We have just such a great common purpose before us here today, and that is presenting the James Madison Award to Wanda Cash, who we all know affectionately as Fluffy, and as well as everyone else knows her as Fluffy. And I think, sort of in the sense of the common purpose of Hamilton and Madison, I think we can agree that all freedom-loving Texans of every philosophical persuasion would agree that Fluffy is a most worthy recipient of the James Madison Award today. Fluffy has devoted her professional life to exercising and protecting the First Amendment that James Madison crafted for us. She has devoted herself to constitutional principles much like Alexander Hamilton did. Fluffy is as iconic to open government and freedom of the press in Texas as Madison and Hamilton are in the pages of U.S. history. And like Madison and Hamilton, Fluffy has her own Wikipedia page. I bet you probably didn't know that, but you can look her up on Wikipedia. Now, Fluffy has excelled in a number of different professional roles. She was a superb Texas newspaper publisher, editor, and journalist for decades. She and her husband owned a Texas newspaper. While working as a newspaper journalist, Fluffy devoted countless hours of volunteer time as president of the Texas Press Association, as president of Texas APME, and also president of our own Freedom of Information Foundation. She advocated for open government and open meetings laws in Texas before the legislature. She was down in the trenches with us and for us. She testified against amendments that would have gutted the Public Information Act. She fought for a journalist shield law before the journalist shield law was cool. Fluffy would call out public officials who sought to do the people's business behind closed doors. She wrote editorials, she wrote op-eds, she made the case for government in the sunshine. Those accomplishments alone would be probably reason enough to give Fluffy an award like the James Madison Award, and that would be career enough for the average person, but not for Fluffy, not for Wanda Cash. She was always known during her newspaper career as a mentor to young journalists. So it was very fitting that Fluffy moved in the last several years of her career from newspaper journalism to academic journalism. Over the past decade, Fluffy continued her career by educating a new generation of journalists. She has been a popular and very highly regarded professor at the University of Texas Moody College of Communication. She served as the first fellow to the S. Griffin Singer Professorship at the university, and I believe Mr. Griffin Singer himself, Professor Singer, is here with us, so we'll recognize Griff at this point. So, and during all this time of working in academia and making new accomplishments to add on like an exclamation point to her career, Fluffy remained devoted and active with the foundation. A few years ago, at a critical time in the history of the FOI Foundation, Fluffy provided the leadership to renew our mission. And she guided us in transitioning the foundation's offices from Dallas to Austin. Fluffy, to me, is sort of the quintessential Texas woman. She has the style and the wit and the presence that reminds me of our former Governor Ann Richards. Fluffy brings a zest to life and a fine sense of humor to everything that she does. As I think about it, I think Fluffy's story would make a pretty entertaining Broadway production itself. But before we all get to see Fluffy the musical on Broadway, you get a sneak preview here today. So I present to you live in person the 2016 James Madison Award winner, Wanda Fluffy Cash, dancing her way on stage.
So soon to be.
There you go. You can put it back in your box or you can hold it.
I may need to use this. Thank you, Paul. That was a very generous introduction. And to quote my old friend Lyndon Johnson, my father would have been very proud to hear it. My mother would not have believed a word of it. Many thanks also for a lifetime of support and encouragement from my family and my friends who are here today. I love you. Kelly? Where's Kelly? 45 minutes? Oh, 5 minutes. Well, there goes the PowerPoint and the handouts, sorry. Say, did you know that John Steinbeck was once a newspaper reporter? He spent time in Texas. Seriously. He covered state government and observed our public education system. There's a passage in Travels with Charlie that has always resonated with me, and I bet R.B. Brenner knows what I'm going to say. Steinbeck said that when people get caught doing something they're ashamed of, they come to believe that it was the witnesses who caused the trouble. So I believe that all of us today have convened a room full of troublemakers, journalists, and open government advocates. We are witnessing, we are scrutinizing, and we are shining the light on things people might not be proud of. I've always been a troublemaker. Just ask my sister, ask my husband, and ask all of my unindicted co-conspirators in this room. Of course, we know that there's a downside to witnessing, to making trouble, because those in power usually like to keep things just the way they are and keep people in the dark. Sometimes shining a light doesn't always bring enlightenment. Sometimes it means losing a job, or losing advertisers, or being offered a one-way bus ticket out of town. All of those things have happened to me. My troublemaking started in the 6th grade at a Catholic girls' school in Laredo, Texas. Right, Senator Zaffarini? I did hard-hitting investigations into cafeteria food and just what those nuns were wearing under those habits. In high school, predictably, I was the editor of the paper, and I was threatened with expulsion for writing an editorial critical of the school board. And then at UT, there was the Vietnam War, Richard Nixon, Watergate. So inspired by my mentor, Griff Singer, and Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, I focused my career on troublemaking, investigative reporting, and government transparency. When my husband and I owned the Ingram News in Kerr County, I reported on the financial wrongdoing of a rural telephone cooperative. We lost thousands of dollars in lucrative advertising. Then at the Kerrville Daily Times, I covered illegal city council meetings. I didn't cover the meetings because they were illegal, but I reported that they were having illegal city council meetings. David Donaldson, who is an FOI longtime supporter and First Amendment attorney, represented me. We sued the city council and we won. The newspaper got a permanent injunction against the city. I got fired. During my journalistic tour of the Texas Gulf Coast, chaperoned by Bill Cornwell, there was a plethora of greed and corruption to cover. Chemical plants, cancer clusters, Superfund sites, and a privatized county jail where guards forced the inmates to crawl naked across the floor while dogs barked and bit them. Along the way, my friends Jack Loftus and John Lumpkin got me involved with the FOI Foundation. and I went into full-time troublemaking witnessing mode, spending hours in public hearings at the state capitol, testifying alongside open government champions like Senator Don Adams and Laura Prather and Donis Baggett. As some of you probably know, the Texas Public Information Act is based on the assertion that Texans, all Texans, have a constitutional right to know what government is doing. That government is the servant of the people and not the master of the people. Thanks to superheroes in the Texas legislature, like Senator Whitmire and Senator Zaffirini, and superheroes in then Attorney General Greg Abbott's office, Mandy Crawford and Missy Carey, I believe that we helped Texas become more transparent, especially with the passage of the SHIELD law and mandatory open government training for all elected officials in the state of Texas. I used to joke that Texas has a chicken fried steak form of government, that laws are made and deals are brokered in coffee shops and back rooms and on the hoods of pickup trucks. It's better now, right? I think, I hope, but we've got to keep after it. We cannot allow government to wear us down. As my old pal Tom Jefferson said in the Declaration of Independence, we cannot allow government to fatigue our efforts into compliance. Isn't that a great phrase? Have you read the Declaration of Independence lately? It's brilliant. They should make a musical about, oh no, probably not Thomas Jefferson. We have got to continue reminding folks that it's their government after all, and they have a right to know what's going on. Over the years, first with my reporters and then with my students, I encouraged them to be witnesses, that they could make a difference in their community if they were willing to dig deeper, lift rocks, look behind curtains, and expose all those unholy alliances that form when nobody's watching. In other words, to be troublemakers. So, has my personal troublemaking been worth it? Absolutely. I'm proud to be a troublemaker, and I hope I've made a difference. Thank you.